Health Association and Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center in Boston, Massachusetts.
It's recording.
Mr. Armentano has spoken at numerous national conferences and legal seminars, testified before state legislators and federal agencies, and assisted dozens of criminal defense attorneys in cases pertaining to the medical use of marijuana, drug testing, and drug driving. He is a frequent guest on radio and appears regularly on nationally syndicated Drew Pinsky Show. Mr. Armentano is a prolific writer on the subject of marijuana and marijuana policy. His work has appeared in over 500 publications, including more than a dozen textbooks, anthologies, and he's a frequent contributor to Alternet.org, High Times Magazine, The Huffington Post, and Washington, D.C. newspaper, The Hill. Mr. Armentano is a 2008 recipient of the Project Censored Real News Award for Outstanding Investigative Journalism and was selected as one of America's top 20 young visionaries by Who Cares magazine, a national quarterly journal devoted to community service and social activism. His book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink, was published in 2009 by Chelsea Green. So without further ado, let's give it up for Paul Armentano, everybody.
Thanks, you guys. I want to thank Kelly, I want to thank his brother Kyle, I want to thank all the volunteers and everybody out there who's involved in making this one of the premier events in the United States for marijuana law reform. I do a lot of traveling around the country. I come to the East Coast, I live on the West Coast, and this is definitely one of the best events like this that I've seen, and I'm really proud that it's happening in the Midwest, because this is the part of the country where we really need to have these kind of educational events. So now I guess I was given the coveted 420 speaking spot, so I want you guys to all take a deep breath for a minute. Smell the freedom. Can you smell it? That's what we're here about today. So I want to take a few minutes. I don't want to hold up the festivities. I know there's some great music. There's some other great speakers that you're going to hear from tonight. But I want to tell you guys why it's so important, not just to attend these sort of events, but why people like you need to get involved in marijuana law reform. Why it's people like you that are going to end the marijuana policies, the failed policies that we have in place. There's a reason that you guys need to get involved, and that's first and foremost self-preservation. Since 1965, law enforcement have arrested over 21 million Americans for violating marijuana laws. And when you look at that number and when you break it down and you see who's actually getting arrested, you know what? It's not me. I'm 38 years old. I live in California. It's mostly people like you. It's people that live in the Midwestern and southern part of the United States, and it's people under age 30. When you actually look at who gets arrested, and Normal commissioned a study breaking down these numbers a few years ago, 75% of everyone arrested for marijuana penalties is under age 30, and 25% is under age 18. In other words, we've got 250,000 people, young people, that every year we're disenfranchising through our failed public policy that says we treat marijuana and we stigmatize and criminalize the users of marijuana for making a safer choice to use a substance that is objectively safer to the body and safer to society than alcohol. Do you guys think that makes any sense? So here's the question then, what are we going to do about it? And when I say that, I mean, what are you going to do about it? Now you've taken the first step, you're attending this event today. Some of you have taken a second step, you've gotten involved on a volunteer basis with some of the great organizations that are vending here today. But if we're going to end a 70+ year failed public policy, we all need to do more. I think it was Gandhi who said that those who are oppressed need to be a part of their own liberation. And that means you guys need to take the lead in being a part of your own liberation. So I want you guys to all look around and look at one another, talk to one another, because it's you guys that are going to bring these changes to reality. So here's how you're going to start doing it. And my first suggestion to bring about these changes is really simple, at least in theory. What I want you to do is talk. Have the conversation. Have the conversation with others about the need to end these failed policies. Start talking about how these policies disproportionately impact young people. Start talking about how these policies limit the academic potential and economic potential of people for the rest of their lives when they're struggling to get over a criminal record. Start talking about how the war on marijuana endangers young people, how young people then reject all drug education messages because they say if they lied to be about marijuana, why would they be telling the truth about these other substances? Talk about how the war on marijuana has caused an entire generation to think that they're civic leaders and law enforcement, that these are the people who are there to oppress them rather than there to help them. We need to change this dynamic. We need to start having this conversation. We need to tell people that all of you are more likely one day to have a criminal record because of our drug policies than you are to be prevented from experimenting with the use of marijuana. So when I say have this conversation and talk about it, this is quite literally what I mean. Talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, talk to your colleagues, talk to your family. Talk about this at the dinner table. Talk about it at Thanksgiving dinner. Talk about it with your faculty advisors when you're in school. The reason you need to talk about this with people that you know is because you have credibility with these people. These people care about what you think. They care about what happens to you. They want to see you succeed. They don't want to see harm become you. You know, oftentimes when I talk to people about this movement and they learn so much information at once about this scam, this lie that is our war on marijuana, and they think, I want to just take to the corner. I want to tell any stranger who walks by that the drug war is a lie. And I say that's a great idea, but it's easy to talk to strangers. Strangers don't know you. They don't care about what you think. Better yet, talk to the people that you know. Those are the people you can influence. And that's how we begin to make this change. So after you've talked to your friends and your family and your colleagues about the evils of the war on marijuana, then what? Well, then take the conversation outside of that circle of the people you know. Take it to your local newspaper by writing letters to the editor and op-eds. Take it to your local city council. Take it to the mayor. Take it to your local state officials. Be in contact with the makers of media and public policy and tell them where you stand on this issue. And you know what? If they ignore you, if they don't listen to you, become one of them. If the student newspaper doesn't run your letter to the editor, join the student newspaper. Be a part of the student newspaper. If your city council member doesn't want to bring up the marijuana issue, run for city council like Kelly Maddie did and change the system from within. Because if you're not going to do it, then who is? So there's one more thing I'd like to add to this whole theme about how you can really be the change that we all want to be. And that is by saying this. When opponents are asked to justify why we continue this failed policy that's led to these millions of arrests and broken lives, they'll say it's all about you. It's all about protecting young people like you. And it's our turn to say, not in our name. Stop blaming the excesses and the failures of the drug war on us. Because it's not about us. The drug war doesn't help us. It harms us. So don't let us be your scapegoats so you can damage and destroy and ruin another young generation the way you've ruined our generation. Not in our name. So there's one final point I want you guys to think about before I go. And that's this. I want you guys to make a pledge. Doesn't have to be out loud, but just make a pledge to yourself about your commitment to changing the injustice that surrounds the drug war and the war on marijuana in specific. Don't let your activism be a phase in your life. Let it be a part of your life. When I graduated college in 1994, there wasn't an Americans for Safe Access. There wasn't a marijuana policy organization. There wasn't a LEAP. There wasn't a SAFER. There was no drug policy reform movement. Today, there is. There is a very large drug policy reform movement in this country, and we have momentum. We are making changes, and it's not just limited to pockets of organizations like NORML, like the Drug Policy Alliance. Just in the past few weeks, Fire Dog Lake, a very progressive political organization, said we are going to make marijuana law policy reform and legalization a core part of our platform. Just a few weeks ago, the California chapter of the NAACP said we are going to talk about marijuana law reform. We are going to make it a part of our mission statement. Just last week, the SEIU, with 750,000 members in California, said we are going to support marijuana law reform. We are going to support Proposition 19 in California to legalize marijuana in the state of California. All of these groups are getting on board because everyone likes to be on the winning team. And they realize that the drug war is doomed, that the war on marijuana is doomed, and that legalization is inevitable. So get on that winning team. Don't let this be a phase in your life. Make it a part of who you are, because the injustice is always going to be there, and we have a responsibility when we're aware of injustice to speak out against it and to change that injustice. And that's what you guys need to do. And ultimately, it's never been easier. You know, NORML has social network sites where you can get news in real time. When there are bills being pending in your state or in other states that are coming up for a vote, we can let you know in real time. We give you the tools to contact your local officials, to contact your federal officials, to contact your local papers, to coordinate with other like-minded activists around your state. You don't have to be working on this issue full-time to be involved in this issue full-time. Because if we're ever going to win this war, and it is a war with real casualties, we need to do more than change public opinion. We need to change the culture. And that's where you guys all come in. That's where the conversations you're going to have with the people you know come in. That's where your activism comes in. And you've taken the first step by attending this event today, but don't let it be the last step. It's like Nike says, when you're done with this great event and you go back home, keep up your activism. Just do it. Thank you very much.